Hey guys, how's it going? I'm Sydney from PhoneDog.com. Welcome to PhoneDog Live, the podcast here on Ustream. Thanks guys for being here if you're watching this live. If you're watching the recording of the podcast on YouTube, be sure and check out the description below the video because I'll have a timeline there of the topics. And we have a pretty good show today. CTIA was this week, and it's actually been kind of a busy past couple of weeks. We had the Galaxy S3 event, we had BlackBerry World, and then we had CTIA. It was just like everybody was everywhere. So, not a whole lot of exciting news or announcements, but there were a couple of big announcements. And so we're gonna talk about just some of the new phones that we got to see, some of the hands-on videos that Aaron has with a couple of phones. First, I wanted to start with the EVO 4G LTE. This is maybe one of the most exciting phones that we saw out of CTIA. I mean, maybe you could make the argument for the DROID Incredible 4G, which was made official at CTIA, but the EVO 4G LTE, there's also pretty equal. Just a quick recap of the specs: 4.7-inch, 720p Super LCD display, which I want to talk about in just a second. 1.5 gigahertz dual-core Snapdragon S4 processor, 8 megapixel camera, with some of the cool features that we also saw in the 1X and the 1S. I don't know if it's like exactly the same camera, but still a pretty good camera there. 16 gigabytes of internal memory, a gig of RAM, all that good stuff. Android 4.0 with Sense 4. But one of the And Aaron already has an unboxing video if you guys want to watch that. But one of the cool things about the EVO 4G LTE is just its design, and this is something that HTC has really owned ever since we've started seeing HTC phones in the U.S. Except for like the G1, the HTC G1 on T-Mobile. That was probably, just honestly, probably one of the ugliest phones I've ever seen in my life. But aside from that, they've always made just great looking phones. And so the EVO 4G, it's like they just keep getting better. And so this is a perfect example of that. I don't have any pictures here. I don't know why I didn't think to get pictures. I'm sorry, I always have pictures, and I don't this week. I feel actually kind of like a failure because of that. But anyway. So it's got a really, really hot design. You can see the unboxing to see, basically what it looks like. It's extremely thin. The top half is like a black glossy finish, and the bottom half is sort of like a matte finish, so it's a little more flat, and it has red accents, so it still has the kickstand, the famous EVO kickstand, but it's kind of more like towards the top of the back, and then that's accented in red. But there's this whole video that HTC made talking about how they designed the EVO 4G LTE and all of everything they went through to find the right materials, to find the right design. It has a unibody construction. They've made it as thin as possible. It's very sturdy, and it's an awesome looking phone. And I've talked about this before. I think there was one show whenever we first heard about the EVO 4G LTE, I think is when we talked about it, and the design of it is just like, it's just gorgeous. And I think I use that word a lot, gorgeous, for HTC phones, because they just seriously do have some of the best hardware designs. And the EVO 4G LTE is a horrible name, by the way, and I think I tweeted this. I think I went on a rant about this. EVO 4G LTE, worst name ever. It wouldn't be so bad if the original EVO wasn't called the EVO 4G, because EVO 4G LTE really is like, it embodies everything that the phone is. It's an EVO, it's a 4G device, and it's an LTE device. So it's like, in a sense, it's a perfect name, but the original EVO was called the EVO 4G, and so really this one, you just kind of added on the LTE, which seems like kind of just a small little addition, like EVO 4G, but it's got the LTE. It's kind of like this small addition to the title, or to the name, when in reality, it's a huge upgrade. I mean, you're going from, well, first of all, a couple of years later, so it's, obviously the technology is better, it's thinner, the display is bigger, it's better, it has a dual-core Snapdragon S4 processor, one of the best processors with CPUs ever, 8 megapixels, I mean, everything about this phone is just mountains better than the original EVO 4G, and yet the name doesn't really do it justice. It doesn't tell customers this is like the next generation of EVO. This is one of the best phones we have. To me, the name kind of just says it's basically like an EVO 4G but with LTE, and it's not. It's so much more than that. I think EVO 4G LTE is just a horrible name. I mean, again, like I said, it captures everything, but in terms of marketing, in terms of of confusing the crap out of customers, I think it's the worst name. But still an awesome phone. It's still a pretty awesome phone. This 4-inch Super LCD display, Taylor wrote an article about how he was fed up with Super AMOLED displays from Samsung. And the minute I saw the headline, I was like, you know what? I am with you, man. Because, and I've said this before, I love gorgeous displays. To me, that's one of the most important things about a phone. I love beautiful displays. And of all of the technology that's, the different display types that are out there, AMOLED has always been my favorite. Ever since, we saw the Samsung Impression, which was a feature phone with an AMOLED display. I thought that was beautiful. And then we saw Super AMOLED Plus. Super AMOLED, or AMOLED, has always been my favorite because the color saturation is just awesome. It's like this punch, and it's obviously not realistic colors, it's not natural colors, but it just looks great. And so AMOLED has always been my favorite, and Samsung has always, used it. But lately, they've been using Super AMOLED, not Super AMOLED Plus, just Super AMOLED with HD resolutions, but using Pentile technology. And Pentile technology, everyone knows, is it's a 4-letter word to smartphone users. Pentile is, you just don't want it. And, we have these great displays, HD resolution, and so you're like, it's not that big of a deal. I mean, the resolution is so great, the pixels per inch is so great, that it's not that big of a deal. And I have the HTC One S, which obviously does not have an HD resolution, so, again, maybe my perception of it is somewhat skewed. But I can tell you, as soon as I turned the display on, I saw pixels, and it was really annoying. I was like, wait a minute, there's pixels. And yeah, I'm being extremely picky, and, maybe, okay, come on, it's pixels, the totally first world problems, I get that. But you just kind of expect with a phone that's got all of this going for it, great processor, great display, Super AMOLED, HD, you got all this going for it, and then they use Pentile technology for, there's some benefits to it. There are some benefits to it, but really, I'm just really tired of it. I am really tired of Samsung doing that. And so, the more I see, phones like the HTC One X, the Incredible 4G LTE, which we're going to talk about, the more I see phones that have these Super LCD 2 displays without Pentile technology, the more I'm like, you know what? I don't need AMOLED. Yeah, I really don't need Super AMOLED because I can live without the colors popping if it means that I can't see pixels. Because honestly, to me, it kind of does ruin the whole experience. The colors look great, the graphics look great, but whenever you see those pixels, it's kind of like, well, it just completely defeats the purpose. I mean, what's the point? So, I'm with Taylor. I'm tired of Pentile displays. I'm tired of Samsung using Super AMOLED, HD, whatever crap with Pentile. I'm done. Okay, I'm not going to get another phone that has that. So, HTC, I've said before, I don't like Super LCD because it doesn't have the same color saturation. I don't even care. I have switched from Super AMOLED to Super LCD. Boom, I've converted. There it is. So, in that vein, the EVO 4G LTE is probably going to be one of my new favorite phones because it's Super LCD, and as far as I know, it doesn't use Pentile technology. Now, Obviously, I think I would have heard if it did, but I'm pretty sure it doesn't. So that one I think I'm really excited about. So you can watch Aaron's unbox. It also has Beats, also HD voice capabilities in certain areas. Like it's not everywhere, but you get HD voice quality, which is pretty cool. And this Snapdragon S4 processor, wow, it's amazing. Like I'm using the 1S, and I know the 1X has a quad core processor, at least the international version does. But I really, after using an S4 processor, I don't see how this could be any better. Like, I don't see how it could be any faster. And of course, that's what we said whenever phones had like a 1 gigahertz processor. We were like, oh my God. It's like whenever you see video games from like, early 2000s or something, when like first Xbox and stuff like that. And you see these games, and like back then they seemed amazing. Like the graphics, I remember when I was a kid and I saw Tomb Raider, the game, for the first time. I saw some kids playing it, and it looked like a movie. I mean, it looked completely real. And now I go back and I see the original Tomb Raider, Tomb Raider 2, and it's just like, what were we on, drugs or something, that we actually thought that was, I don't know. So it may be like that with, these processors that we have now. I mean, I don't see how, like, with the S4 processor, what the EVO 4G LTE has, I don't know. I mean, it seems like perfect. I do something, it reacts, it responds, everything's smooth. I don't see how it could be any better, but, so that's what the EVO 4G LTE has. So if you're on Sprint, that's the best new phone. I can't think of, if they get the Galaxy S3, they'd be about equal, and I don't think either one would necessarily be better than the other. I think it would just kind of depend on which one you prefer. Like, do you like Samsung hardware, or do you like HTC hardware? Do you like TouchWiz, or do you like HTC Sense? And I'll tell you, again, this is I've said before in the past, I love TouchWiz. I love the colors, I love the design, the way it's been refined over the years. I love TouchWiz. And I've never really liked HTC Sense that much. But again, going back to using the 1S with the new Sense 4 overlaid with over Android 4.0, I'm really starting to like Sense 4. And of course, it could be because I've downloaded that's probably is why. I downloaded a custom launcher, and I've customized so many things that maybe I've gotten rid of enough elements of Sense 4 to kind of like mellow it out, because Sense 4 is really, like I said before, it's like a completely new operating system. Like, it's not just a skin, it's like a new OS. Everything is like this new, different way. And so maybe I've just eliminated just enough of it to make it bearable. But I like Sense more than I used to, and so and this is saying something. I've always been a Samsung girl. I love the hardware, I love TouchWiz, and I love AMOLED displays. But now I like HTC hardware more. Now I'm kind of like, wow, the 1X and the 1S and the EVO 4G LTE, I love that hardware. I don't really like AMOLED anymore. I'm kind of leaning more towards Super LCD, and now I kind of like Sense more. So I don't know. Maybe this is a defining moment in my life. I'm switching from TouchWiz to Sense. I don't know. We also got a chance to see the Focus 2, which was made official. This is the Samsung Focus 2. It's an awakening for Sydney. Yes, it's like it's a new start. This is a new day. It's a new me, new haircut, new I don't know, new opinions, I don't know. So we also got to see the Focus 2, which is a new Windows Phone device, and not like really anything spectacular, but still a good Windows Phone device. It is going to come to AT&T, which makes sense since AT&T has the original Focus, and the Focus S, and the Focus Flash, so it makes sense. Which is kind of weird that this is the Focus 2, so I'm like, well, what was the Focus S? Because that kind of seemed like a Focus 2, but this is the Focus 2. I don't know. It's we now have 4 Focuses, but there's only a 1 and a 2, and the others are like I don't know. That's Samsung. It's coming to AT&T. It is an LTE device, which is pretty cool. That's one nice feature to see in Windows Phone devices these days, because I've talked before about how, as a Windows Phone user, it is starting to bother me more and more that we don't have some of these awesome features like, amazing cameras that can capture, full HD video, or just an amazing camera in general. Things like 4G, like LTE, the processor. That doesn't bother me too much because I use Windows Phone, and so I know that even without a dual core processor, it's still like extremely smooth. So that doesn't bother me too much. But in the display, we're still only getting like Super AMOLED, 480 by 800. It is starting to bother me more and more that we don't have some of these cool features that like the One X and the One S have with their cameras, or some of these amazing displays. So it is nice at least to see Windows Phone devices that are LTE phones. And I think the only thing that's really like holding me from just going over the edge is that we're kind of all expecting with Windows Phone 8, we're expecting everything to kind of get upgraded, to have, like dual core processors, better cameras, HD, or 720 or 1080p instead of 720p, better displays. At least that's what the hope is. And so that's really what's keeping me down. But hopefully, at least. But, at least for now, we have some new phones that, like the Focus 2, that are LTE devices, 4-inch Super AMOLED display, 1.4 gigahertz processor, 5 megapixel camera that captures 720p video. It also has a VGA front-facing camera and 8 gigabytes of internal storage. The 8 gigabytes, the internal storage thing, I think, is sort of a problem because, it doesn't support micro SD cards, it doesn't support memory cards. So you can't exactly like expand that. And for some people, 8 gigabytes is really not enough. Now you have SkyDrive, you have the cloud that you can use. But considering that, things like Zune, that's one of the great things about Windows Phone, is that in a lot of ways it's like the iPhone, where, the iPhone has iTunes, Windows Phone has Zune, where you can download music. And personally, I think it's just as good. In fact, the software I like much better. The desktop software, I love Zune desktop. The design is like, well, there's actually a design to it, whereas iTunes, it's like I'm using, Microsoft DOS again or something. So anyway, the thing with Windows Phone is that you have Zune, you have this easy way to download songs and music and videos and podcasts. But then I have like 8 gigabytes of memory and no way to expand that. So that I think is a problem. But again, I'm holding out hope for Windows Phone Apollo, which I don't like doing. I don't like saying really about anything that, it's okay because in the future, like, this is going to be fixed. Or it's okay because in the future, this is going to be fixed. Because, like, you don't really know. And then you have all these expectations and then you get disappointed. And we've seen that. We see that every year with the iPhone. Like, it hasn't, 4G has been big for a couple of years. The iPhone wasn't a 4G phone, and we kept saying, well, it's okay because it's going to get 4G, this year, so it's okay. And then it doesn't. And then we're like, well, it's okay because it's definitely going to be an LTE device the next time, or with a display. So I don't like doing that because it just leads to disappointment. But the Focus 2 coming to AT&T May 20th for $49 on contract, which, when you think about the price, $50, like, dude, I don't even care about that. Like, after everything that I just said, you're like, it's only $49. I mean, it's for $49, it's a pretty good phone. Would I recommend getting it now, considering that Windows Phone 8 is coming out later on this year? I mean, for people like us who follow technology, who try to have the latest and greatest, as, if it's reasonable for us, probably not, because we do know later this year you can get a much better phone. But, if you're on a budget, you can't afford to always have the best phone, or if it's like, just the average consumer, I think it'll be a great phone. Also, the Droid Incredible was made official. Not the Incredible. We already had the Incredible. The Droid Incredible 4G LTE, which again, dumb name. Don't even get me started on that. Same thing with the Evo. It's just a bad name. That's official, coming to Verizon in the coming weeks. We heard that May 31st. We heard that May 31st could be a possible date, which is May 31st is, I don't know, it's in a couple of weeks. This has a 1.2 gigahertz, same processor as the EVO 4G LTE, Snapdragon S4 processor, 4-inch QHD Super LCD display. So kind of a step down from the EVO 4G LTE that has an HD display, 1280 by 720. The Incredible 4G LTE, it's a QHD, so it's 960 by 540. So there's that. Still Super LCD, 4 inches, like I said. Android 4.0 with Sense 4, Beats NFC, 1 gigabyte of RAM, 8 megapixel camera, front-facing camera, all that. All around, a really great phone. Now, like I said, I mean, if you, like me, again, I love great displays, and so for me, it kind of, like, is a big deal that it doesn't have an HD display like all of these other amazing phones do, especially considering that it's probably going to be the same price as the EVO 4G LTE and the HTC One X and the HTC One S and the Galaxy S3 and all these other phones that are coming out. It's going to be the same price, and so I'm like, I should get an HD resolution because that's what I'm getting with all these other phones. If it's not going to be HD, it better be like 150 or something, but it's not, so it's probably going to be 199. But again, same processor with the Snapdragon S4, so I already, talked about how great that is. We do have a hands-on video. Aaron got some hands-on time with it, again, at CTIA, so you can watch that. And Verizon usually has a really good lineup. I think you can always tell, there's always styles. Like all the carriers, they have their own style. T-Mobile has kind of a smaller selection, and they usually only have like 1 or 2 phones that are really good, and they're generally like the best phone on the market. Not always the best, but kind of like usually the best phone on the market. Sprint is kind of the same way. They have a lot of like really cheap mid-range phones. They have tons of those, and then a couple of high-end phones that are generally the best on the market. AT&T just has like a ton of phones. They have a ton of everything, a ton of high-end, mid-range, low-end, Android, Windows Phone. AT&T just has everything. And then Verizon usually just has like a lot of high-end phones that are expensive but really good phones. So if you have, and then their data, I don't know, to me Verizon 4G is like the fastest of all that I've tested, but that's only in Dallas, so I can't claim that for the entire US. So, but that's coming to Verizon. So let me see, what else is coming to Verizon that we know of? Let me check my cheat sheet. The Incredible 4G, already talking about that. I think that's it. So maybe something else. Maybe we'll hear about something else coming to Verizon in the coming months. Speaking of sort of, I don't know, we were talking about mid-range phones, right? We totally mentioned that. Speaking of mid-range phones, if you want a good mid-range phone, but you're on a prepaid carrier, Virgin Mobile announced the EVO V 4G, and Boost Mobile announced the EVO Design 4G, which is pretty cool. The EVO V is the EVO 3D. I think the only difference is it has Android 4.0 with Sense 3.6, I think. So it's not Sense 4, I think it's Sense 3.6. So it's not, but you do get Android 4.0, which is nice. I mean, because, Virgin Mobile with unlimited something for $30 a month or $35. I mean, that's a pretty good deal. I think the phones are going to be like $300, but, and then on Boost Mobile, you can get the EVO Design, which is like the Sprint EVO Design. So that's, I think that's pretty cool. I love I like rooting for prepaid carriers because I think for a lot of people they are so vital. I mean, I remember when I was single and lived on my own and I had absolutely no money, I was on Metro PCS because you could get unlimited everything for $40 a month. And like they weren't the best phones. The data, like the 3G, wasn't really like great 3G. But it was cheap. They had decent phones, and then when they started building out their 4G network with LTE, that was like super fast. When I mean, Sprint didn't even have LTE, and T-Mobile didn't have it. Like Metro PCS had the very first LTE phone in the US. I don't think people realize that. That's like amazing. Anyway, and so I was so happy for them because like, there's people that you got to have those prepaid carriers, and the same thing with Virgin Mobile. So I think it's awesome. Now, obviously, the phones are kind of expensive. Like the first 4G smartphone that Metro PCS got, I think it was like $400, I was like, well, that's a good idea. Let me just let someone else get that. But so like, obviously, not everyone can afford it, but if you're on a budget, you don't have to have crap phones now. You can still be on a prepaid carrier and get good phones. And even if you're not on a budget, some people don't like contracts, and like boom, now you can get a good phone. So I think that's really cool. You were single, yes, I was single at one time. I've been single longer than I've been married. I think we've been married for 2 years in March, and I was single for 22 years, so definitely a little more. Anyway, so that's the EVO V. And let me see. We also saw Aaron has. I said what? How did I say that? Aaron has. He's posted hands-on videos with the Ascend D Quad, the Huawei Ascend D Quad, and a couple of other phones. The P1, the Ascend P1. And a couple of other phones that may or may not make it to the US. We also got to see the Kyocera Hydro and the Kyocera Rise. They were made official. These may make it to the US, they may not. The Hydro and the Rise are pretty much like mid-range, really like low-end phones. They both have exactly the same specs. So you've got 3.5-inch display, 320 by 480, which is pretty much low end. They do have a 1 gigahertz processor, but it's a Snapdragon S2 Scorpion processor, which is a couple of years. Well, it's about a year and a half old, so it's not really that big of a deal. 512 megabytes of RAM, 3.2 megapixel camera, 2 gigabytes of internal memory. They do have Android 4.0, so it's kind of like teetering on the edge of low end to mid range. I think I'm gonna keep it at mid range. I think they're mid range phones, but the Hydro is waterproof, and the Kyocera Rise has a QWERTY keyboard, a physical QWERTY keyboard. So, if those interest you, we have information on those on phonedog.com. I don't know that they'll make it to the US, but they're going to be somewhere. So our European viewers, you can check those out. And the Ascend D Quad is very enticing. I hope it makes it to the US because it's probably going to be a fairly inexpensive phone. Now it's got obviously a quad-core processor, 4.5-inch HD displays. It's a pretty awesome phone, but because it's Huawei, they tend to have like more, I don't want to say budget, well, yeah, budget friendly. I guess just because of their name, or maybe the materials they use, I don't know. So I'm thinking it's an awesome phone. If it does come to the US, you might be able to get that for kind of a cheap price, but we don't really know yet. So you can see those. But one phone that is coming to the US, although not coming to a particular carrier as far as we know, but it will be available to us in the US, the Nokia 808 PureView. This is the phone that has, a 41 megapixel camera. Now it's a Symbian device, which is, whatever, however you feel about that. But it'll almost be worth it to get just because of the freaking awesome camera. Now, granted, you don't actually take advantage of all of the, 41 megapixels, and you can take pictures that are only like 8 megapixels or 5 megapixel cameras, but or pictures, but it does have a 41 megapixel camera, and I think that's pretty awesome. And I know a lot of people that are excited about that, and I think more like I said, you can't get it on a carrier, so it's going to be off contract, so you have to pay full price, which is probably going to be somewhere around like $500 or $600. I think the cool thing about the phone is not just the phone itself, because I mean, yeah, it's got a great camera, but it's Symbian, and no one really wants Symbian. So I think we're more just excited about the camera, like the fact that they did this, that they have this on a phone, and so we know Nokia and Microsoft have partnered, and they now make Windows Phone devices, and so there's a possibility that we might see this technology, this PureView technology, on future Windows Phone devices. Now, like, that's totally, I don't know, that's just again a prediction, which means that I'm going to be wrong. But somebody sent a tweet to me or a comment about how my predictions are always wrong, and he said, so could you please predict that the iPhone will not have a larger display? Because he said it was a gift that I'm always wrong. So he's like, could you please predict that? That way it will have a larger display. And I was like, you know what? That's not a bad idea. I actually, and this is kind of off topic, but if you want to know honestly, I really don't think the iPhone is going to have a larger display. I mean, honestly, I really do think it's going to be the same size. So again, I'm not like making that up. That really is how I feel. But like, watch, I'm going to be totally wrong about that. And if I'm right about that, dude, like, we are totally writing this down. I'm going to, this episode will be, I'm going to keep it forever, because I was actually right about something. Anyway, oh yeah, so PureView, this technology might be on Windows Phone devices. It's just a guess, like I said, but it's kind of cool. It's kind of interesting. Now, would I buy one, since the camera is freaking huge, and it's so thick, because it's like a real camera. I mean, it's not like, a phone camera that's like this little bitty sensor, and it's got an LED flash, which is pointless. It has a real flash, like from a real camera. It's not an LED flash. So you have that, and it's like a real camera. So it is thick. It makes the phone kind of big. So I don't know if that would be entirely attractive, but it still would be awesome to have the video. Aaron has a hands-on video with the I keep wanting to say Lumia 808 PureView. One, because it's Nokia, and two, because it's 808. I keep thinking of the Lumia 800. Anyway, so Aaron has a hands-on video with it, and he said it's not as bulky as you would think. It feels kind of good in the hand. Anyway, and so the guy that was, demoing the phone for him, he said the video quality is actually pretty amazing too, because it's high fidelity sound. So he said a lot of times with, smartphones, and you're doing a video of something that's where it's really loud, like in a concert or something, and it usually just kind of like picks up just a garbled mess of noises, which you've probably seen a lot, like on YouTube. You'll try to see a video of like some performance by a band that you like, and you click on the video and you're hoping that it's like an actual live performance that somebody, like from a TV show or something, but instead it's from someone's cell phone camera, and the sound is it's either horrible or just not that good. So I was like, I know exactly what you're talking about. So apparently it's also, video recording is also amazing. So, it's kind of cool. We're getting into this age where smartphone cameras actually can replace your point and shoot camera. Now, not all of them can. I mean, it's usually like the high-end phones. But the fact that we're getting into this age, it's actually pretty cool. In fact, whenever the iPhone 4S came out, I can't remember if it was when it came out or shortly thereafter, somebody did a comparison between their iPhone 4S and their DSLR camera, and took the same exact shot from the same spot, everything, and compared it to see which one looked better. Is there a difference? And honestly, I mean, there wasn't really that much of a difference. There wasn't. And it's the same thing with other phones like the One X, and these other phones with these amazing cameras. You take a picture and you tell yourself, well, it's a smartphone camera. So no matter how good it is, it's still not as good as my point and shooting camera. But if you were to actually compare the picture to your point and shoot camera, it actually is very equal on for a lot of pictures. I will say things like low light and low light settings, they're doing a better job of making cameras better for low light settings. That's one of the things they touted with like the HTC One X, that it's better for low light settings. Apple, again, with the iPhones, that it's better for the. So there are certain situations where it isn't as good, where having a point and shoot camera, just the mechanics is just better for that. But for just outside sunny day, or wherever you're at the park, there's a lot of smartphone cameras that can actually replace your point and shoot. And the 808 PureView within that technology is kind of just another example of that. Still, video quality is kind of where they're still struggling with getting video quality that's as good as like a camcorder, or what your point and shoot camera can do. But anyways, who does video anymore anyway? So that's the 808 PureView. Could be coming to the US, and again, you'll have to pay full price. But if you're just can't get enough of Symbian, and you really want a 41 megapixel camera, you can get it for $600. So that's basically a wrap up of what we've seen at CTIA thus far. There was kind of one other thing that I wanted to talk about, but that is not it. Where is my page? Since we have a couple of extra minutes, Nokia has been hit with a lawsuit because of the success, or rather unsuccessfulness, lack of success, because of the lack of success of Windows Phone, at least according to the person who filed the lawsuit. It's been filed by Robert Shilinsky, a Nokia shareholder. You know what? I think I might have actually gotten that right. No, Shmielinsky. I think I might have gotten that right. Count it. Okay. He says that the firm violated federal securities laws by promising investors that moving to Windows Phone would halt its deteriorating position in the smartphone market, which apparently did not work. The suit claims that it became clear that wouldn't be the case when Nokia lowered the Q1 2012 outlook for its devices and services division, adding that the Lumia 900 data issue, because they had to refund $100 to all of their customers, was only making the situation worse. The plaintiff is seeking to recover damages for all buyers of Nokia shares. So this is kind of like, whoa, okay, because we were hearing a lot of good news. Nokia said they sold 2 million Lumia devices over the past quarter. Market share seems to be growing, depending on which research firm, depending on which research firm you look at. It seemed to be kind of like good news. We had the Lumia 900, this big marketing push, smoked by Windows Phone. Windows Phone Apollo is coming soon. It was kind of like gaining momentum. People love Windows Phone. And so it kind of seemed like, you know what? Maybe they are selling tons of Windows Phone devices. Maybe it's actually doing pretty good. And then you see this, and it kind of makes you wonder, like, wait, so if it's that bad, I mean, if it was bad enough for him to sue, have they actually sold any? I mean, is it as good as it seems, or is Windows Phone really struggling? It's kind of hard to tell because, like I said, there's what we see on the outside, and then, there's kind of like inside stuff like this that gets out. So, I don't know, Nokia says that the suit is without merit, of course, that's what they have to say. But, and obviously, they are still struggling. I mean, obviously, Nokia was doing so badly that, I mean, one quarter, one little year of selling a brand new OS was not going to fix all of their problems. So yes, they did lower their projections, and it's going to take a while to climb back up, which is to be expected. But you kind of wonder, like, are they actually doing that good? I don't know. I've seen more people with Windows Phone devices more and more every day. I don't see one every day, but I'm just saying every day I see more and more. Actually, while I was at BlackBerry World, I didn't see a lot of people with the Lumia 900, but I saw enough to where I was like, wow, that's a lot of people actually have that phone. I'm starting to see more just average Joes that have Windows Phone devices. So I don't know, to me it seems like they were doing okay, and maybe this is just, maybe it is without merits, but we'll have to see. That's gonna be an interesting case to follow, because it'll give us kind of an insight into exactly how Windows Phone is doing, because a lot of times manufacturers, they're a little shady on their numbers. They always say, well, we shipped this many devices, but we didn't actually sell any. They won't always release the exact numbers. So maybe with this lawsuit, we'll be able to see exactly how well or how poorly Windows Phone is doing. But anyway, that's that, and that's the news. So she's saying Nokia. I know it's not Nokia. It's more like Nokia. I don't think it's Nokia or Nokia, but I think it's more like Nokia, sort of like a mix in between. I saw a video of a person that was speaking Finnish, and I try to pronounce it exactly the way that he pronounced it. I'm not going to say Nokia, and I'm not going to say Nokia. I'm sorry, I'm just not, okay? Anyway, so that's the show. We can move on now to the open Q&A. So if you have any questions, feel free to ask. If you're watching the recording of this on YouTube, you can leave your questions. I read those. I try to respond to some if I can. So anyway, just ask away. Let me figure this out on Facebook. Every week. There we go. Okay, so I'm on Facebook, I'm on Ustream, and I will be answering your questions. How are you? I'm doing well. Yes. Do you think the Lumia 900 will get Apollo? Is it capable to Apollo? The last that we heard is that current Windows Phone devices will not be updated to Apollo. Hey Sydney, when will we get a Galaxy Note or something similar on Verizon? Yeah, those rumors, they've been ongoing, and I can't say for sure. So it's still a rumor, but we haven't heard anything solid yet, so I'm not sure. When is the Note upgrade out? Galaxy Note. In the coming months is the last that we heard. Is it for sure that the Note is coming to T-Mobile? Yeah, I think we saw a leaked picture of the Note, and it had the T-Mobile emblem on it. So I think it's pretty certain. Why is the ICS upgrade so slow, Sydney? Do you mean the process of rolling it out, or like once you get it, your phone is slow? Process of rolling it out, welcome to Android, first of all. If it's slowing down your phone, then that might be an issue. I'm not sure. Mavs are out. Yeah, Mavs are out of the playoffs, which is actually a huge relief because I did not want to go. I mean, last year, oh my gosh, it was so stressful. Every game, every series, it was like I lost so much sleep last year. So obviously you don't want to get swept, but at the same time, I'm just like, I'm actually kind of relieved. So I really, and also, because they won the championship last year, like honestly, I don't care. I mean, I've said this before, like they could all suck for the next 10 years and I wouldn't care because all I wanted to see was a championship. Of course, they're not going to suck for the next 10 years because they have great ownership. Would you like a Nokia Android device? Yeah, yeah, like the Lumia 900 with Android. Yeah, that could be cool. What carrier will the Optimus 4X HD come to in the US? LG Optimus 4X HD. Why do I not have that? I know that. I should have that on here. But I don't. Oh, there it is. T-Mobile. I think T-Mobile was the last rumor that we heard. Why doesn't Samsung make Super AMOLED Plus HD displays without Pentile? There is probably a very good answer to that question. If I knew more about the technology behind it, I could probably answer it for you, but I don't. So I'm sorry. Are you married? Yes, I'm married. I am married. Are you going to buy the BlackBerry 10 when it's available? It's not the BlackBerry 10. I mean, BlackBerry 10 is the operating system, and then there will be phones that run BlackBerry 10. So I don't know if I'm gonna buy it, but I'm definitely gonna try it. I am definitely gonna try a BlackBerry 10 device. T-Mobile for what? I don't know. What are some podcasts you subscribe to on iTunes? I'm trying to add to my library. I listen to The Verge Mobile podcast, sometimes The Vergecast, but that's like all technology. So usually The Verge Mobile podcast. Engadget Mobile. I do a lot of like separate like Windows Phone. Let me just open iTunes. Android Central, The Cell Phone Junkie, Engadget Mobile, Inside Windows Phone, which hasn't had a show lately. At least it's not showing up. The Verge Mobile Podcast, Vergecast, and Windows Phone Central Podcast. I used to have a lot more, but I couldn't listen to all of them. And I usually don't get a chance to listen to all of these. Like, usually, the Verge Mobile Podcast, I usually listen to that every single week. Engadget Mobile, usually. And then Android Central usually is like every week. But I just, they're like an hour long and I'm working, so, but yeah, that's what I am. Sydney, for the millionth time, did you see the company plume from CTIA? No, I did not. Let me check Facebook to see if, okay, no new questions. I love The Verge, awesome. I love how every week she answers my question. I'm happy for you. What happened to VZ Buzz? I don't know. Is that gone? I had no idea. vzbuzz.com. It's loading. I think it's still there. Oh, great. Okay. What do you think of BlackBerry 7.1? You should watch my 30-day BlackBerry challenge. I didn't enjoy it. Just for me personally, it wasn't really what I wanted. When will you put more videos on It's My Job to Know? Or do you use PhoneDog video? Are you talking about my YouTube channel? Yeah, my YouTube channel, like I mean, I have it and I put videos up sometimes, but I never planned on using that very much. It's just sometimes I get like, funny ideas, or I do blooper videos, or someone's car alarm is going off outside and it's really annoying. Just sometimes I get some random ideas for videos and I'll post it, but it's not like a vlog or anything, so I don't know when I'm going to post videos. If you could choose a mobile OS, okay. Love your haircut, thanks. Sydney, when will there be a phone with 2 gigabytes of RAM? Actually, there's the LG Optimus LTE 2 that has 2 gigabytes of RAM. I thought there was another one recently. Yeah, and then the LG, we just heard about it, the LG LS970, which could be called the Eclipse, that will supposedly have 2 gigabytes of RAM. Are you still using the HTC One S? Yeah, I'm still working on customizing it to make it look... I scrapped my other design, so... Sydney, how tall are you? I think I'm about 5'3". Yeah. Okay, for the millionth time, what would you prefer, HTC One X or... By the way, just FYI, if you post your questions a million times and I don't answer it, it's probably because I don't want to or I don't know the answer. So just... You don't have to keep posting it, okay? Which one do I prefer? I guess the One X quad-core processor, but honestly, I mean, if you think of the US versions, which will have like a dual-core processor, they're both going to be pretty much the same. Car alarms are pointless. I'm about a foot taller than Sydney. Yeah, I'm actually kind of short. I used to think I was tall. I don't know whatever gave me that idea, but I'm realizing as I get older that I'm very short and I'm very small. Like, you know, you look at yourself every day and, you know, you have your body for your whole life and you get used to it. You don't think it's anything out of the ordinary. But whenever I compare myself to other people, I'm like, wow, I'm actually really short and small. I'm a very petite person, which I always think of myself as tall and I don't know. Anyway. Does the world really need quad cores or dual cores in smartphones? Does the world? I'm pretty sure the world doesn't. There's a lot of things the world really needs, and a dual core processor is probably not one of them. When you're thinking about the world's problems, but would it be nice for us to have phones with quad-core processors? Yeah, I mean, it's cool. If you want to pay for it, why not? Which app do you use the most? Aside from stuff like, you know, email, you know, probably on Windows Phone I use Rowie for Twitter, or Rowie. I use that for Twitter. So probably that one, and ESPN, the ESPN app, ESPN Score Center. That's probably the one I use the second most. And then like Slacker, I use Slacker Radio a lot. Sydney, maybe you should do a 30-day challenge on the Pre 3 from HP. Well, yeah. The world needs muffins. The world needs strawberries. Do you play any instruments, and if so, were you any good at it? Yeah, I played in the past. I've played the flute, I've played the trumpet, and I've played the piano. The piano most recently. The piano was the easiest one, actually. The trumpet is actually really hard because it's all your mouth, you know, like you have to have really strong mouth muscles. The flute, you know, it's a lot of like different keys and combination, or not keys, but you know, a lot of buttons and combinations. But the piano is actually really easy, and I don't know if like people realize that. It seems complicated, but it's really just, it's a matter of, well, first of all, learning how to read music, which is pretty simple. But then it's just a matter of learning which key is which note, and then, you know, pushing it at the right time. And that's pretty much it. I mean, you have to learn chords and all that, but again, you know, chords is just a combination of notes. So once you learn, okay, this key is this note, then, you know, it's I don't know, the piano to me was really simple, but I haven't played it in forever, so if I got it, if I sit down at a piano, I can't play very much, but I used to be pretty good. Can you give me 5 reasons for buying a device with Windows Phone 7? Well, my favorite is just the minimalistic design. I think it's very attractive, but it doesn't appeal to everyone. So, I mean, I would list that as a reason, but if you don't like the way it looks, then, obviously you're not going to like it. And that's just personal preference. I mean, some people like it, some people hate it. But for me, minimalistic design, I think, is one of the best features. The virtual keyboard, I think Windows Phone has the best virtual keyboard I've ever used. And that's saying a lot because I'm extremely picky about virtual keyboards, or about keyboards in general. So, virtual keyboard, I think it has the best virtual keyboard. The notification system is actually very good. I think there could be some improvements to it, but I think it's actually a very good notification system. Also, you have some pretty cool built-in features like local scouts. You have Bing search with Bing Vision. There's a lot, and also cards. I think they call them cards whenever you're doing search. There's a lot of built-in features that most of the times you would have to download an app in order to, like on Android or iOS, you'd have to download like a Yelp app, or you'd have to download all of these apps, but there's a lot of like those kind of features that are actually built into the OS, and so it's actually very convenient and easy. Like, you don't have to search through the App Store, like, I'm trying to do this, is there an app for it? It's already there. Also, Bing Maps, I think Bing Maps, and like, you may think I'm crazy, but I'm telling you, I have compared both of them. So I'm just like, from personal experience, I think Bing Maps is better than Google Maps. There, I said it. It's just more accurate, and that's just honest. It's just more accurate. How many was that? Was that 5 or was that 4? I don't know. I guess if I had to list another one, live tiles. I think live tiles are extremely useful. I mean, they're like widgets. Everyone loves widgets. Live tiles, basically the same concept. Okay, what mic do you use? This is actually a very inexpensive mic. It's not a, it's a mic from Rock Band, the PS3 game, I know, which sounds lame, but listen to it. The sound quality is freaking amazing, and it didn't cost me $300. So, anyway, yeah, that's the mic I use, and then obviously this is a pop filter. What colors are available for the themes on your HD7? See, settings, theme. Okay, magenta, purple, teal, lime, brown, pink, mango, blue, red, green. I use pink just because I think it's pretty. And I also use a white background because, I don't know, the black background, it's really depressing to me, I think. That's just me. And also performance. Duh, I can't believe I forgot about that one. Performance. That would probably be like my number 2 reason. Minimalistic design and then performance on Windows Phone is completely smooth and amazing, and just everything is perfect. So that would be number 2. So what was that? So 1 was what was 1? Oh yeah, minimalistic design. 2 would be performance. 3 would be the built-in features that make things easy, like local scout, from lock screen to the camera, Bing search, Bing vision. 4 would be notification system. 5, actually I had 6, because it was a virtual keyboard, is the best I've ever used, and then Bing Maps, I think is, so I actually had 6, but anyway. Sydney, do you watch The Vampire Diaries? No. Do you play Mortal Kombat or Street Fighter? No. Best phone on Verizon? Let me see, at the moment, best phone on Verizon, and, okay, one more question after that. It's 5 o'clock, so it's been an hour, but let me see, the best phone on Verizon. I just need to get a quick recap of all of the phones that they have. Sydney, do you like Need for Speed? I do. Need for Speed Undercover was my favorite one. Okay, let me go to... The Droid Razr Max, I think, um, yeah, probably some mixed matchup of the Droid Razr Max, the iPhone 4S, and the Galaxy Nexus. Depending on, OS, UI, which one you prefer. I think those would be the three best. Okay, so one more question. What has happened to that PD Prime thing? Phone Dog Prime. What was that? I don't know what happened to it. I never heard of it. Phone Dog Prime. What was that? That exclusive members thing. Oh, right. That was for, yeah, okay, so we have on the official smartphone rankings on phonedog.com, we have the experts and then we have the people's choice vote. And we were going to have a special select group of our viewers who would be able to vote, and then those results would also be listed separately. What happened to that? I don't know. It could still be in the works, and so I'm not sure. But anyway, thanks guys for watching. I really hope you enjoyed the show. If I missed your question, I'm sorry. You can send me a message on Twitter at phonedog_Sydney. And I guess that's it. I had a good time, so I'll see you guys later. Same time, 5 p.m. Eastern time on Ustream. Or you can always check back on our YouTube channel because I post the recording on our YouTube channel so you can watch it there. But anyway, I'll see you guys later. Bye.